Welcome to my PowerPoint on the weapons in Hades 2. This is updated for the version 1 update that is released officially today. Now, the Witch's Staff is probably one of my favorite weapons to use. As the first unlockable weapon in the game, the Witch's Staff is simple to use while still being very efficient. For your main attack, Melinoe strikes in front of herself for a 3-hit combo that deals 20, 25, and 60 damage per hit. This is efficient and really not that difficult to use. It's much faster than your, of course, your Omega attack or your Omega special, while doing significantly more damage than your regular special if you do the 3-hit full combo. That being said, it actually doesn't do that much damage in comparison to your Omega attacks. The Witch's Staff does a lot more damage with its Omega attacks and has some pretty good Daedalus Hammer upgrades to go alongside some Omega attacks that we will talk about. That being said though, I like using this attack, just it clears the room efficiently, it just can do good damage to the boss, and if you do get attack upgrades, I mean, you're going to be using your Omega attack a lot and you're going to run out of magic, so you want to make sure that you're able to use the attack pretty much just like alongside all the other tools in the kit. I know that sounds obvious, but for a lot of people that are going to be playing this game for the first time today, that might not sound obvious to them. Then we look at the Omega attack. Melinoe charges a large line attack in front and behind herself. This uses 20 magic and deals 160 damage. This, of course, does a lot of damage. There are upgrades we'll talk about later where it makes the Omega attack heal on kill, which is insane. But for the most part, this does really good damage to the boss. It doesn't take that long to charge, and you can dash out of it instantly so you can make sure that you're not taking any damage. And I mean, it's great for clearing rooms. If you have ways to get more magic, like you increase your magic, you have magic regeneration through a boon or any way, it's really good for clearing rooms, and it's a really fun ability to use when you do have that. Then for her special, Melinoe fires a thin and piercing bolt in front of herself, dealing 40 damage. This goes pretty far, and while it does pierce through enemies, it's very thin, so you have to line them up. I like using this to either, pick off enemies that I know it will kill from a long range, or I actually sometimes will like to just go a full build where I do nothing but special damage with the Witch's Staff, and because you can act and, the animation for this, special isn't too long, and you can act out of it pretty easily. Because it's such long range, you can use it to poke down bosses, poke down enemies, clear rooms with it. It's really fun. And while I wouldn't recommend going a full only main special build, you still want to use the other tools of the Witch's Staff. It's really fun to do if you are looking for something new to do with it. And I mean, a lot of boons synergize with that. Like if you want to go with Zeus, you can take your specials inflict blitz, or you could have your specials apply a wave with Poseidon. It's really cool, and guys, I'm so excited for this game. I have, at the time I'm recording this, I have 60 hours in the game previously, and I'm so excited to see what happens after I beat Cronus and beat Typhon again. I'm so excited. Anyway, the Omega special, Melinoe charges an orb projectile that has a low homing effect. It deals 80 damage and costs 10 magic. This is very spammable, and if you have flat damage effects, like say the splash effects from Poseidon, or if you have Blitz from Zeus, I guess those just make sense, then this can do more damage than the Omega attack, right? You're able to fire it way faster than the Omega attack, so if you have, low, flat damage options rather than percent damage increases, it's a lot better to go towards building to do as much damage with your Omega special. That being said, if you have a lot of percent increases, then the Omega attack is usually better because it's such a large, it's 160 versus 80, right? Any percent increase is just going to be double as effective on the Omega attack. That being said though, even if you're not including increases or boons or whatever, it's still really powerful to just use the Omega special because, like I said, it is faster. It does have a low homing effect. You can use it to kill enemies that are in awkward angles. You can use it to do a lot of damage to the bosses or mini bosses. And while it just straight up doesn't do as much damage, that doesn't mean that has any less use in the kit of the Witch's Staff. I feel like all 4 of these attacks, more so than probably any other weapon, if I had to be honest, I think that they synergize with themselves the best. And I think the Witch's Staff's just great all-around weapon. Really like using it. And let's talk about, the upgrades. So there are Daedalus Hammer upgrades, and there are upgrades from Icarus that you can get in the overworld. They're going to be displayed, left and right with a slash, so anything that has like a slash means that Icarus can upgrade it in the overworld if you get, lucky with it. So let's look at them. You start with Wicked Thrasher. Your attacks have plus 30 to 40 power. This does, of course, apply to your Omega attack, so it goes from 160 to 90 or 200, but primarily this is best if you are going a build where you want to use your base attack, right? Plus 30 when the first hit does 20, the second hit does 25, and then the third hit does 60 is a huge increase. It's 90 damage, it's going to be like about 90 power increase over your entire combo. So you get a lot of damage out of Wicked Thrasher. And there's just other, synergistic upgrades to go Daedalus Hammer upgrades to go alongside it. It's crazy because Extending Wallop is right there. It's the one right after. Your attack has more range and deals plus 100%, 150% damage to distant foes. These two combo really well together. Having more range on your main attack, of course, means you have more access to doing the damage because, for the most part, the Witch's Staff primary attack isn't too long of range, as you could see in those clips, but it's still got a decent enough range. But when you extend it, it's really nice, and it's really good for like being a get off me tool. It has a decent hitbox to cover yourself, and I mean, doing that bonus damage to distant enemies is really useful on its own because you're going to be fighting bosses. You don't want to be up in the face of the boss almost always because usually they have some kind of hitbox that spawns inside of themselves. So having that extra range and double damage when you're spacing out the boss is super nice and really does add up. Melting Swipe. Your dash strike hits a larger area and deals plus 900 damage armor. I'm not really going to talk about the dash strikes too in depth. They're kind of, from how much I've played the game, they don't seem too useful outside of just I dashed and I struck. But like for Melting Swipe on its own, it is, bonus damage to armor. This is pretty useful. The dash strike, it does damage. I think it's equal to the main, or the first hit of the primary attack. Who cares, bro? I'm sorry. Like I'm just, there's so much more to talk about than dash strikes, and they're not very useful. So it does more damage, it's larger, and it does plus 9 damage to armor. That means you can break armor with it pretty well, but I never take this. I don't think that it's useful. I think that it's basically a waste, and almost every other upgrade is stronger from what I've played through, what I've seen. So I'm not too big of a fan of using it, honestly. Dual Moonshot. Your specials fire 2 projectiles but have minus 40% range. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, these are so much better. Like, come on. Anyway, this is insane. It doubles your damage if you have a special build, of course, and while losing 40% range is actually pretty rough. It's very noticeable on your, main special. On the Omega special, you're not really going to notice it, since they both, have a homing effect, and it has a pretty long range to begin with. Like, yeah, minus 40%, it doesn't matter. But doubling your damage is a lot. It makes it so you can clear rooms a lot better. It, works with, again, anything that works on specials, right? It will double in, efficiency, and it's just effective, right? It synergizes very well with the next one, Shimmering Moonshot. Your specials bounce towards up to 2 foes, dealing plus 10 to 20% damage each hit. This is incredible, because for those who don't know, Daedalus Hammer gives you 2 upgrades for your weapon, right? You can only get 2. You can get 3, I believe, through Icarus, but I digress. You can have 2 upgrades. So having 2 upgrades means that you want to pick the ones that synergize the best with each other, right? I already mentioned Wicked Thrasher and Extending Wallop. Those are pretty good. Wallop. Dual Moonshot and Shimmering Moonshot is really powerful together because while you double your specials and they bounce, right? So if you fire the Omega special, it's 2 of them and they bounce, dealing plus 10% damage each time, right? So, 20%. They do plus 10% damage each hit, right? So it's going to do crazy amounts of damage, but it doesn't do that much damage to bosses, right? Bosses are singular, right? So unless the boss has enemies that spawn with it, then Shimmering Moonshot won't really help. However, for the most part, clearing rooms is just as important as boss damage, so I'm not going to say like Shimmering Moonshot is bad. Plus, there are some bosses where you're going to get value out of this, right? It's insane versus Scylla, because Scylla, has 3 entities in the boss fight rather than just 1, like most bosses. Any boss that has, like, a lot of summons, like, say, Polyphemus, when he's doing, like, his stomping attack that summons those little ghouls, right? That summons a lot of guys. You can get some pretty good value out of it there, but for the most part, it's just for clearing rooms. Not that that's bad. There's nothing bad with, like, being able to clear rooms efficiently. A lot of Hades is clearing rooms efficiently, not taking damage, and then using that to, well, tank hits from bosses. That's my experience, at least. I'm pretty good at clearing rooms by this point, right? I'm usually not taking damage, except for, like, very difficult rooms. So I like to build a big buffer of health to make boss fights a lot easier, and Shivering Moonshot, great for doing that whenever I'm on a Witch's Staff run. Then last, but very much not least, we have Cross Cataclysm. Your Omega attack deals plus 75% damage and also strikes sideways. So the striking sideways is pretty nice. It's just a quality of life thing, right? It makes it so clearing rooms really easy and lets you hit enemies in like crazy, like if you can line it up, you can hit enemies very far away because you can hit multiple at once. I mean, that's obviously good, but plus 75% damage on your Omega attack is huge. It already does 60 or 160 damage, so that's a large increase, and there's so many boons that give you like more percent increases, so stacking percent increases is always very powerful. You can do some crazy amounts of damage with your Omega attack when you get Cross Cataclysm, and while the sideways effect is more of a novelty than anything else, it's still really good. Oops. There we go. Yeah, there are many more that we're going to talk about. Rapid Thrasher, your attacks are 50 to 80% faster. This one's really good with the Wicked Thrasher, the one I was talking about before, where it's plus like flat power. Very useful there. It also does increase the speed of your Mega attack. Then Rapid Moonshot, your specials are 25 to 35% faster. So of course you're going to be able to use your special, your piercing bolt a little faster, but it'll make I believe it's the orb that goes faster, right? And then for the Rapid Thrasher, it's the actual projectile of the Omega attack itself, not like the charge up, because that's its own thing. That's channel speed. Anyway, so making the orb a little faster is pretty useful, but for the most part, I Rapid Moonshot, Rapid Thrasher, using them because of your base attack, base special. So if you have any flat increases, they go up a lot because they don't do very much damage on their own. But like I said, Poseidon's a really good one that does flat. I don't think it's the only flat one, but it's the only one I can think of off the top of my head, where it's a flat increase of damage every time you hit, and it'll do a splash. So you can, super fast attacking things just synergize super well with it, right? So any of these attack speed boosts go pretty well with it. Vampiric Cataclysm. When you slay a foe with your Omega attack, restore 8 health. This one is insane. This makes it so that, like I said, when your Omega attack that you're going to be using pretty often with the Witch's Staff kills an enemy, you're restoring 8 health. I believe you start the game with 30 health, so like your base, no upgrades, no like meta progression, 30 health. 8 health is a lot. 8 health is still a lot, like even in the late game, right? If you have hundreds of health, like 200-300 health, 8 health on every kill is still a lot. You can farm it to basically full heal off of any room, and while it doesn't do anything against the boss per se, if the boss has like, a lot of summons, like I've talked about, you can get a lot of healing off of it. Kronos has a lot of summons, you can get a lot of healing there. But, say Hecate doesn't really have any summons, so you're not going to, I guess that's not true, actually. Hecate has a lot of those ghosts. I forgot about those. Well, no, then Hecate would actually be a good one. Hecate does actually summon a lot. She has 2 summon phases, so you can get a lot of healing there. I don't know, I was thinking Hecate didn't. But yeah, you can get a lot of healing out of this, even against some bosses. But do be careful, obviously, because sometimes you get, even myself, sometimes I get reliant on this. I'll think that I can take a lot more damage than I can, and then I'll just try and heal up, and then I die because, I was too low, and I was trying to take damage and heal, but some enemies just do a lot of damage, right? You don't want to stay low a lot in this game, because there is always the chance you just get one shot, so be careful. Giga Moonburst. You can channel plus 30, 40 magic in your Omega special, deal plus 399% damage in a larger area. This one is insane. It does take your Omega special from 10 magic to, 40, so that's, pretty big increase, but a plus 300% damage increase is insane. You can combine this with Dual Moonshot, you can combine it with Shivering Moonshot for great value, and just any, by that point, right, any percent increase to your Omega special you can get just skyrockets your damage. It's absolutely insane. Giga Moonburst, I like taking this one when I see it. Like, yeah, it chews up through your mana, right? I'm not saying it doesn't, but damage is damage. You can play around your mana, right? You can play around your magic, but damage is damage. Etheric Moonburst. Your Omega special gains a power shot that deals plus 50% damage and restores 20 magic. So this one is interesting. The power shot, it will glow when you can do that shot to do the damage, right? But it's just not that good. For me, the best part about the Omega special is that it's really fast and you don't have to think about it that much, right? That's why it's like you can dash around, and dashing is broken in this game, right? Having invulnerability time is very broken. So Etheric Moonburst means you have to time your stuff, and like you are getting a plus 50% damage increase, and technically you're going positive on magic if this is like your only upgrade and you have nothing that like increases your magic cost. So it can be useful there, but I don't know. I don't like it very much, and I just don't feel like the damage that you're getting from it is really worth it. Then last, but very certainly not least, we have Mirrored Thrasher. Your attacks hit 2 times, but use 5 magic. That is a lot of magic to use on each hit, right? You don't have that much to start. However, you're hitting double. You're hitting twice. You're doubling your damage from your attacks. This applies, of course, to your Mega attack, so you're doing a crazy amount of damage there. But you're using a lot of magic. There are good ways to circumvent this. Ares has a boon where every time you like kill an enemy, you'll draw plasma, which gives you magic, and that one's really good for this. You have Hestia, of course, which has I believe it's called, I forget what it's called, something cardio, which is on hit with your attacks or specials. You gain magic back. You can just have a super high magic pool that like you're basically not going to run out of. There's hexes that can give you magic back. There's a lot of ways to restore your magic, so this is really powerful. If you find it early, it can feel kind of bad, right? Because once you run out of magic, you basically do half damage versus a lot of these other ones where, yeah, their upgrade is more permanent, right? Not all of them, of course, but some of them. But, I mean, come on. Doubling any bonus to your attack is insane. There's so many good boons to do damage with your attacks. I've mentioned a bunch already. It's just really effective, and like, I mean, come on. You're hitting twice. It's cool. It's just awesome. It's like the coolest one. Like, I don't think that's a hot take to say that like making it so you attack twice is really cool and a lot of people are gonna like to play with it. I don't think that's a hot take, because I know I like to play with it. Next, we look at the Sister Blades. The Sister Blades are a high-risk, high-reward weapon that has a teleport, a flurry of knives, and kind of even a projectile, a good projectile. So they actually changed the primary attack between the early access and the full release. I found this in the patch notes. So Melanoe strikes in front of herself in a 4-stage combo where the third attack is flurry and the final hit is an AoE slash. This deals 20 damage on the first hit, 20 damage on the second hit, 15 damage 5 times, and then 90 damage on the final hit. That was increased. It used to do 10 damage 5 times and 90 damage. The Omega attack is pretty much like all the utility in the weapon from my perspective. I don't know. The Omega attack makes it so Melanoe charges to teleport behind and then slash the nearest enemy for 100 damage. This costs 10 magic, and while it's a teleport, right? You can teleport over boss abilities to get damage into them while you have to run away because of the short range of the attack. You can use it to just teleport around the room. I mean, it does take a while to charge to kill enemies. You can teleport over gaps that you just don't want to dash over, I guess, to get to enemies. It's fine for clearing rooms and fine against, like, you know, regular enemies, but for me, the main value of the Omega attack is that it just, I mean, you can teleport over boss attacks, right? I don't think that's crazy. And with the aspects, you get a backstab eventually, but teleporting behind is very useful, but it's just like not the greatest ability. I think that the teleport itself is the best part about it, and that does make it a little awkward, right? Because sometimes, you know, you want to have another move that you can use for different situations, and it just takes so long. It doesn't do that much damage, and like, yeah, I mean, it's a teleport, right? Like the teleport is the utility. But then we look at the first special, which is Melanoe throws a piercing knife that goes out and then returns back to her for 25 damage on both hits. This is really powerful for just picking off enemies, right? It does 50 damage on its own, So if you know how much health an enemy has or just how much damage you're dealing, you can definitely snipe off enemies pretty effectively that way. But because this game has whenever you hit an enemy that doesn't have armor, you stun them. That's how I like to use the knives a lot, right? You don't have that great of AoE and wave clear with the sister blades on their own for clearing rooms, but the special makes it so that even though it doesn't do that much damage, enemies are going to be stunned while you're hitting them. So you can use the special, just line up enemies, deal damage to them twice so they're stunned for basically longer, and just cleave through them without too much effort. To help with this, actually, is the Omega special. Melanoid charges up to 5 knives to throw in a cone. This costs up to 15 magic and deals 30 damage per knife. So you can hit, with more than one knives if they're close enough, but yeah, right? You can use these very effectively to clear the room, more effectively than I would say for dealing damage to bosses, for the most part, right? Because of the fact that, the primary does so much damage, right? It's quick, or the main attack does so much damage. It's quick, it is incredible with boons, so using the specials to deal damage to the bosses isn't that great, but it's definitely one of the better ways to clear your rooms is using the specials. I mean, don't not use your attacks to clear the rooms, right? But if an enemy is further away from you, obviously, or if you want to keep them stunned so you can attack them, that's a great way to do it. Slide. Okay, that was weird. Anyway, let's look at the upgrades. So we start with Sweeping Ambush. Your Omega attack deals plus 400%, 600% damage in a wider area, but uses plus 20 magic. So, like I said, I'm not going to talk too in depth about the aspects, but there is the base. So the base Sister Blade, right, has an aspect where you increase the damage on backstab up to 200% at max level. Combining these is insane, and you do crazy, crazy amounts of damage. If you don't have that, which most people won't because the game just came out, this one is still good. You can still do good damage, right? It's 400% increase on a base 100, which is a pretty high amount, all things considered. So, yeah, but you do have to use plus 20 magic, and you're probably not gonna get. I don't know. It takes a lot, and you can use it for sure, but unless you have a really efficient way to regain magic, which you can get for the Sister Blades, right? If you have the cardio one from Hestia where each hit gives you something, then that's really powerful with the primary, but that's probably the only one I would really ever take for the Sister Blades. I just feel like the primary, the main attack is so powerful and the main special is so powerful that you're not using too much magic, me personally, except to use the teleport. So doing it this way makes it so that you're using so much more magic for your teleport. Yeah, you're getting more damage, and if that's what you're prioritizing in your build, yeah, it probably is. It's a huge amount of damage, right? But I don't know. I mainly use the Omega attack for its teleport, so I value this one a lot less. You like using the Omega attack yourself, then I would take it more often, but that's just me. Dancing Knives. Your specials deal plus 15, 30% damage, and bounce swords up to 2 more enemies. This is the same thing I was talking about with Shimmering Moonshot. Really effective at clearing rooms. If a boss has, ads, it can be very effective there. But you gotta be careful. This one, though, does deal more damage on the base knives. It's not increased damage per bounce. So it is a little bit better than Shimmering Moonshot, but, it doesn't max out as much damage. That being said, I like it. It's pretty good, and it works really well with the next one we're going to talk about. Sure Shot Flurry. Your Mega Special fires each shot in a line, and your specials have plus 30, 50% range. This one's really good. Now, I know it might sound like, oh, if I just stand behind the enemy, really close to them, I can use my full Mega Special and hit them with all the shots. And yeah, you can. But like I said before, being right on top of enemies is not really a good place to be. You really don't want to be there most of the time. So having more range and guaranteeing all of the shots will hit exactly where you want is really, really nice. It, of course, synergizes with Dancing Knives, synergizes basically all of the things from a special, of course, but it's just really effective. There are, I don't believe that it being in a line versus a cone outside of just safety affects much of anything else. It definitely makes it so it's harder to clear rooms because you have less AoE. It's a thin line instead of a cone, right? So do be careful on that. But I don't think that there's any other change from it being a line aside from just aiming. Rapid Onslaught. Your attacks are 35, 55% faster. I mean, this is just incredible, right? The main primary attack is already really powerful, and most of your damage is going to be coming from it, so making it faster is just really nice. I don't have much to say about this outside of that. Melting Sickle. Each hit from your special deals plus 500 damage to armor. This is really powerful. I harped on the Melting Dash Strike for the Witch's Strike because, well, it's Dash Strike. It's not very good. But for the knife or the Sister Blades, it's your special. You can go up behind like an enemy that has armor, do your Omega Special, and deal 2,500 damage because it's 5 knives in that instant, which is going to destroy most things armor. I like taking Melting Sickle. You can of course use it on your regular special, so that when it hits going out and coming back, it deals plus 500 damage. So it's really effective there. This one's really good, and a lot of enemies have armor in the later the later stages. A lot of mini bosses have armor, so you can get pretty good effect out of this. But bosses don't have armor, so if you're looking for boss damage, be careful. You obviously don't want something like one of the melting upgrades just in general, right? Because they don't have armor. Skulking Onslaught. Your attacks deal plus 150, 200% damage striking enemies from behind. This, of course, synergizes incredibly well with the aspect that I've talked about, but this basically is like a glimpse of what the aspect does when you get it, right? It's the same. It's the same amount of upgrade of damage when you have the Icarus upgrade, the 200%. But yeah, you do crazy amounts of damage with this from behind. I know that like percent upgrades aren't as large when you are doing like low amounts of damage, which is, the Sister Blades, right? They do low amounts of damage, 20, 20, 15, and then, 90. So it doesn't sound like much, but I mean, it's still 150% increase, right? That's over doubling your damage. So this is just invaluable, and it's not that difficult to be behind enemies, especially bosses. Especially, well, if you are, of course, if you're using the Omega, the Omega attack, it does teleport you behind, like I said. So you can get some pretty good value out of this one. I like Skulking Onslaught a lot, and I take it pretty often. So we start with the Reaper Knives. Your specials have plus 50 and 25 power and deal damage in a wider area. This one's pretty good, like all things considered. It's good with basically any of the special upgrades if you want to have or if you want to be stacking special upgrades from your Daedalus Hammer. And while dealing damage in a wider area is like nice, it's not that big of an increase, all things considered. You're mainly taking this just because, well, you're going from 30 damage on your Omega Special and 25 damage on your 25 damage on your special, right, to 40 damage on your special and 45 damage on your Omega Special. So yeah, that's a good increase on its own. Hidden Knives. Your specials deal plus 20 and 40% damage, and your Omega Special fires plus 3 shots. This one is really good with Sure Shot. Not only are you firing more shots, so your cone is going to be wider. I mean, you're getting you're stacking percent increase, or Sure Shot, whatever. You're getting more damage. You're getting just so much more damage. Hidden Knives, I've taken this one a lot. It's just fun to use more than anything else. Even if you don't have like Sure Shot, right? You get this giant cone of knives to use to kill enemies, and it's really fun. I mean, that's kind of it, right? I don't know which more to say, right? Final Slice. The last strike in your attack sequence deals plus 304% damage in a large area. This one is not as good as it really sounds, because for the most part, your damage of your attack isn't coming from the final hit. It can, if you do take Final Slice, right? But if you're getting like the best boons to go alongside your primary, then they're going to be a lot of flat damage effects. So flat damage effects are of course going to do a lot more damage when they are applied to the Flurry of Blows. That is the third, strike, where she does 5 like damage instances. So Final Slice isn't that effective. It's just not as good as kind of the next one we'll talk about, Wicked Onslaught. Your attacks have plus 20 and 30 power. Plus 20 5 times is plus 100. That's insane. And it applies, of course, like to all of your attack, not just the Final Slice, right? The final attack. So I don't really take Final Slice myself, but I do take Wicked Onslaught often. This one's really powerful. I mean, I shouldn't have to really explain any further why it does so much more damage. It's just really, really strong. Sudden Flurry. You channel your Omega Special 40-50% faster. This one's okay. I don't find myself taking it very often, right? I feel like that the Omega Special charges pretty fast on its own, so this much of an increase feels a little bit like a waste. I just think that there's better upgrades, but if you are really trying, if you have to take it for the fates, I guess, it's kind of good there. I don't know, it's just like a lackluster one for me. There's just better ones. And then Trick Knives. Your Dash Strike also fires your special 3 times in a fan pattern. This one is kind of interesting. It doesn't really involve your Dash Strike itself. It's more just giving your special more way to be used. Again, though, I mean, you have to use the Dash Strike, which is like not that great on its own. And for the most part, like when I'm dashing, I'm dashing. I'm not Dash Striking. I'm dashing to get away from enemies or to dodge over attacks. So I don't take this one myself. I don't think that it's that great. I believe... Oh, gosh. I believe the hitbox... I don't have, like, a recording of all of these. I'm sorry. I believe the hitbox is really awkward as well, so I don't like it very often. Or I don't like taking it. I'm going to be honest with you. So next we're going to talk about the Umbral Flame. I feel like this is probably my favorite weapon. It's definitely my best weapon, but I also think that might just be the fact that it might be the best weapon just on its own. The Umbral Flame, it's the ranged weapon, right? It provides a steady stream of range damage, and it gives you a really good way to kite enemies. So for the main attack, Melanway fires a low damage fireball that deals 30 damage, and holding it will just continue to fire. But because you are continually holding it, you are going to charge your Omega attack while you are doing this. So your Omega attack makes it, so Melanway, while holding down the attack button, you can charge a flame wave that deals 75 damage and costs 5 magic. Not very much, in all things considered, but it does drain you, right? You want to have ways to regain magic if you want to keep using your Omega attack, to keep you up your DPS. This is like the bread and butter of the entire weapon, right? The special and Omega special, while not bad, are just on the base weapon itself aren't the best, right? They're definitely better when you include some of the aspects. So the first special, Melanway spins and fires a ball that can pierce through enemies, dealing 20 damage. I believe it hit the same enemy twice, so 40 damage. This actually was nerfed, interestingly enough, from 25 to 20 damage in this patch, or well, the release patch. So, I mean, I understand why, because it was kind of insane with one of the aspects, but I don't think it's that great when you're talking about the base Umbral Flame. It's a decent get off me tool, but the damage is just so low that you're not going to be able to use it to like really clear waves that well. Same with like the Omega special. Melanway charges 2 orbibles that spin around her, dealing 40 damage. This costs 40 magic and lasts for 5 seconds. They can hit multiple enemies more than once, but the range around you is like large, so you're not going to be able to use it as much of a get off me tool as much as I'm just gonna, use this, and I have damage floating around me, and then I can line myself up with the boss, and then hit the boss with that and my primary at the same time. But it does less damage than if I were to just if I were to do 8 Omega attacks with that much magic. It just costs a lot of magic, and doesn't do as much damage as the Omega attack, I find. If you are using one of the aspects, it's called the aspect of Pan, I believe. You have a Daybreaker, and that doubles your specials and Omega specials. So it comes really good there. But for the base Umbral Flames, ones we're talking about today, it's just not that great. However, you don't really need it. You can just kite, use your primary attack, and because it doesn't interrupt your primary attack to shift, you don't have a dash strike with this weapon. That's why it's my favorite, honestly. That's not why, but it's just cool. You can continually attack, continually put out damage while dodging attacks, while shifting dashing, shifting, whatever, dodging over attacks. That's shift on PC. To keep going over attacks and do more damage, keep up your DPS, and you just do so much damage with this weapon. There are some bosses that I like to think to myself as like DPS checks, right? Eris in the overworld, that one feels like a DPS check to me. So having Umbral Flames, it just does so much damage, really can help you through bosses that like kind of seem like bullshit, like that one does. Anyway, let's look at the upgrades for the Umbral Flame. Cracking my knuckles. Long video. We start with Hidden Helix. Your special has +1 projectile. So this is like actively worse on the release patch than it actually would have been in the pre-release, and I already didn't like using this one before. So while your special and your Omega special has +1 projectile, Again, or you could just take something better. You could take something that synergizes with your attacks and your Omega attack. And there's a lot of good ones that do that for the Umbral Flame. So I'm going to just like move past this rather than explain like, yeah, it does more damage and you can kill more enemies with it, but the damage is already pitiful. You know, it's 20 damage and 40 damage on the Mega Special. So you're not getting too great of value out of it, all things considered. Clean Coil, you channel your Omega Special 20% faster and uses minus 10 magic. Again, doesn't do that much damage. The channel isn't even that long to begin with, and while that actually does solve the problem of it takes a lot of magic to use, it still costs 30 magic. And again, there's just better Daedalus Hammer upgrades to talk about. Speaking of, Furious Blaze, while you channel your attacks, you move and fire 20 to 30% faster. So it's a 20% move speed and attack speed increase. This one's really big. It's a great DPS increase. Take it very often, usually when I see it. And because the base, like I've said before, a lot of the actually I think most of the weapons in this game go on a attack kind of quickly, do low damage style for the most part, like their base attack, right? So in that theme, having, you know, a lot of attack speed and a lot of flat damage increases, really powerful. I like to take the Poseidon ones all the time. Dividing Blaze, your attacks split in two the first time they strike an enemy. Again, this is more so powerful as a room clear option than for the boss, but with the next one we'll talk about, I'll explain why. It can do decent damage to the boss itself. It's really strong at just clearing rooms though. Like, I don't think that's crazy for anyone to understand. Clearing rooms is not the easiest with the Umbral Flame. It's not difficult because you have range and you can kite the enemies very easily, but it does just take a while because you don't have that much AoE damage, and the AoE you do have, like I said, isn't that great. The Inverted Blaze. Your attacks linger for 2 seconds and launch back to you when you dash. If you've ever played League of Legends, there's a character called Xayah, and Xayah's whole thing is that she throws out feathers whenever she attacks, and then she can pull them back in to deal incredible amounts of damage because she's effectively attacking you twice. I mean, she additionally roots you as well, but like still. She's effectively attacking you twice. Inverted Blaze is really good, and it can kill enemies really efficiently. It's amazing for clearing rooms, especially in when you're using Dividing Blaze, because, well, you have 2 of the attacks to draw back now, so it's crazy. But it's really good. You can shoot enemies in one place and then shift to drag all of those flames back towards you to deal damage back to enemies on their way back to you, so you can kill more things. So you can basically double hit up on enemies. You can use this to break armor, and because it's like multiple damage instances, it will then stun the enemy if it hits and breaks armor in 2 different instances, so that you don't have to worry about an enemy using like a charge up attack, or if the enemy's coming towards you, etc. And just the damage. The damage is insane. It basically doubles your damage at the cost of having to dash. That's not a cost. The dash cooldown is very low. And, well, yeah, you could dash and then need to dodge. If you just know the timing of, like, bosses or of, like, enemies, you don't dash until you need to. And then you just deal crazy amounts of damage. It's very strong. I believe, myself personally, think it's the best upgrade for the Umbral Flame, but that's just me. I mean, other people might have a different opinion. I just think it's the best one. Sudden Burst. You channel your Omega attack 50% faster and it uses -1 magic. This one's, like, fine, right? It's not amazing, but it's fine. It effectively makes it so that your Omega attack comes out, because it's 50% faster, it makes it so you're doing more damage because you're doing them more often. And it using -1 magic is, like, it's nice, but it's not really that noticeable for the most part throughout your run. If you're taking this to, like, alleviate magic issues, there's just better ways to do that in, like, boons and, like, just getting more magic or other upgrades, right? There's just better ways to get, like, fix your magic issues than, like, take this one. However, I mean, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's better than, like, a lot of the special options, you know, for me, but it's fine and it's solid, and, like, it is a damage increase because you are still going faster. Rising Helix. Your specials grow in size and deal up to plus 25, 30% damage the longer they are active. It's not very good. Like, it's only a plus 25% damage increase basically at the end of the Rising Helix, right? Because it's damage the longer they are active, so it's not a big increase at all. And like, I've already harped on the specials enough. They're just really not that strong. And all of these upgrades don't really begin to help it. Whirling Helix. Projectiles from your specials are 23% faster. This doesn't really do anything to help the problems with the special. It does make it so that it's hitting more often, but the damage is low, it costs an insane amount of magic, and like, it's just not that strong. I have to be honest with you. Like, and that's fine, right? Weapons can be strong because of one part of it rather than the whole part, right? That doesn't really matter. It's just, I find so much more value by using the attack and rarely using the special. I'm not saying you have to, right? The game just came out. Try your own stuff. But I like to put out how things affect when I play the game when I talk about my videos. Big whoop. Then Lead and Blaze. Your attacks have plus 10, 15 power, and knock back enemies. This one's fine. It's just a decent damage increase. You go from 30 to 40, which isn't that great, and 75 to 85, which again, not that great, but it's fine. There's nothing bad about it. The knocking back enemies is like placebo for the most part, because you can't knock back enemies that have armor, and if they have armor, or don't have armor, you're stunning them anyway. So it's kind of like a placebo thing. So it's not like the best attack upgrade, but I'd still rank it higher than basically all of the special upgrades for the Umbral Flame. Now, I know that I've said, I've talked about a lot of weapons that, they put out like a lot of attacks, and they are, usually best when are combined with like flat damage sources to increase their, DPS. The Moonstone Axe swings very slowly, like so slow that you feel bad using it almost. It's so slow, but it does a lot of damage, has a lot of range, and it cleaves through enemies with huge, cleave swipe attacks. For your base attack, Melanoe slices twice before rising up for a high damage chop. You input a dash or special before the final chop goes off, and then it deals 40 damage on the first hit, 80 damage on the second hit, and 160 damage on the final big hit. This attack is, it's exactly what it sounds like. You cleave through enemies, and then you do a lot of damage in a big AoE to more enemies. The Moonstone Axe is amazing at clearing enemies, and amazing at clearing rooms. It's good at fighting the boss, of course. All the weapons are good at fighting the boss. I'm not saying that they aren't, but it's not one of the best ones. So do be careful that your DPS with it is not that high. However, when you're fighting weak enemies that you just one-shot, that's where you're basically getting a lot of value out of it. That being said, there's still good ways to deal damage to bosses, especially with this one, the Omega attack. Melanoe charges before spinning with her axe. Its cost scales from 10 magic up to 20 alongside its duration. It then hits up to 11 times at 20 magic, dealing 50 damage each hit for 550 damage total. You can of course move inside of it, and it's really slow, but this is really powerful. Like I've said before, you don't want to stay still a lot, and you don't have to with the Omega attack. When you are using it, you have to charge up, and then you spin, and you are technically stuck in that animation until it ends if you want to maximize the damage, but at any time you can dash out of it to dodge damage. So what I like to do is, I'll beat up the boss, and then there's a situation where I think, hey, I can just free farm damage on the boss with the Omega attack. I go for it, because the amount of damage that you're outputting from this is usually worth getting hit one time. I find, use your health as a resource, buddy. Don't be afraid to take some damage. So getting a full Omega attack out, I feel like it's worth one hit a lot of the time. I've played the game a lot. I have, meta progression. I have ways to heal outside of combat, more efficiently than someone who just started the game. So maybe that's, wait a little while to do that, but you can get so much damage out of this one attack, and it's really effective at doing it. Especially in comparison, the main attack does good damage. It does, 280 damage after its full combo. It just takes so long to get out. And I believe the Omega attack is, only slightly longer for way more damage. For your special, Melanoe lightly spins her axe in front of her, dealing 20 damage over 3 hits. It's not like anything crazy, but does do more damage than the first hit of your attack. So if you do want to kill an enemy that, you know, slightly lives your first hit, then it's definitely worth going for, but it doesn't do very much damage. There is an upgrade that makes it have more range, but it's not like, it doesn't cover much distance, doesn't cover much area. It's very awkward to use. The main use for it, I find, is that you can like primary, special, primary. So, or well, sorry, attack, special, attack. So you can do 40, 80, do the 60, and then do the slam. That's usually the best time I find for it. Of course, like most things, when you use your special and then you use the Omega Special, so it can be used like that as well. For the Omega Special, Melanoe charges a large cleave that erupts in front of her, dealing 140 damage in 3 big circles for 30 magic. This is very powerful. It's super efficient in clearing rooms. A lot of the time, if I'm in a run where I'm like, hey, I have so much magic that I can basically just like use this 5 times and clear a room, I go for it. It's so effective. It does good boss damage. This is one of the best ways to deal with bosses if you have like really efficient ways to regain mana or magic. I keep calling it mana. To regain magic, it's really efficient to use the Omega Special to do damage that way. But again, it's 30 magic. You don't have that much. You don't have very much magic. I believe you start with like 60, and that might even just be with like, because I have like meta progression, right? I don't even know how much you start with. Probably not very much. So you do have to be careful when using it, because running out of magic, obviously you can't use your attack. Just be careful. So let's look at the upgrades. Oh my goodness, dude, this video is so long. Furious Whirlwind. You channel your Omega attack faster and move 50 to 60% faster while active. This one is like, okay, it's really not that great. Like I said, you are slower in your Omega attack, and this is still slower than your base walking speed, I believe. The main, like, I mean, you can already dash out of the Omega attack anyway, so it being able to move faster while during it is, like, not that big of a deal. But it charging faster can matter. If you are, like, you know, pumping all your stuff in Omega attacks, you want to use that spin. It's good at clearing rooms. It does great boss damage. You can definitely get around using this, but it's not one of the better upgrades, and there are some pretty good upgrades here as well. Sudden Cleaver. You channel your Omega Special 25-35% faster. Now, I've been harping a lot of these, like, you channel faster ones, or, like, you know, you do stuff faster. I don't think that they're that amazing for the most part, but this one is really good. The Omega Special does take a long time to channel, so having it be 25% faster is a lot. You can increase your DPS by so much with this one, because it's, well, it's basically a 25% DPS increase, if you really think about it. And for most things, that's, like, not that big of an increase, but on, you know, the axe, which is dealing 140 damage in those 3 circles, which I believe can hit bosses more than once. I'm pretty sure. I've definitely killed a boss with it, like, by doing that. So you're getting a crazy amount of damage increase. I take Sudden Cleaver often, but, like, if you have a larger increase than 25%, it's not really that great. It is a channel speed increase rather than a damage increase, so you can definitely get it out faster, but, like, if you're playing well, that doesn't really matter as much as it being, like, you know, a damage increase. That's kind of why I like these channel ones don't really matter to me, is like, if you're just dodging and know the patterns of the enemies, it doesn't matter as much. Rapid Slash. Your attacks are 30 to 50% faster. This one's really, really good. Your main attack is so slow that taking this is just a huge damage increase. Shouldn't have to explain like that much why a huge like percent increase is so good on your super slow attack, but it's very nice. Executioner Chop. The final hit of your attack sequence hits twice but uses 20 magic. This one is like kind of interesting. It does synergize with the next one that we'll talk about, but it on its own, I don't think it's that great. I'm not saying it's bad. Of course, I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's one of the like higher, like one of the better ones, like overall of the upgrade, Daedalus Hammer upgrades for the axe. But like, you use so much magic using this that it's kind of hard to justify sometimes. However, if you have Hell Splitter to go alongside it, your attack has plus 300, 400 power, but turns into only the Final Chop. Well, Final Chop, it's twice. So if you're only using the Final Chop, Yeah, that's an incredible combo. This one does unbelievable amounts of damage. I've used this one only like twice, I think, at this point. I've only gotten it twice. I don't use the axe that often, admittedly, of my 60 hours. But getting this together is just disgusting amounts of damage. Like, absurd amounts of damage. On their own, they're kind of like not the greatest, right? Executioner's Chop, it's fine. It does give you a damage increase at the cost of a pretty big amount of magic, though. Especially when you can be using that magic on other things that do more damage. And Hell Splitter, it's just so slow, right? Like, because you're only using the final chop, you have a harder time clearing like enemies and dealing damage to bosses. Like in like scenarios where, yeah, like if you're in a scenario where it's like a damage phase, air quote, for the boss, where the boss is just sitting there not doing anything, then yeah, this doesn't like matter. But if you're actively fighting the boss and trying to get damage in, then Hell Splitter just like really slows down your boss fighting, and it makes it really hard to clear rooms because, well, you're only doing that one slow chop, so you have to chase enemies without slow chop. It's kind of just awkward. Seething Marauder. Your attacks also deal 60 to 80 damage to surrounding foes. I'm not a fan of this one. 60 to 80 damage is like not that high, but the axe is like already good at clearing like waves of enemies and AoE of enemies, right? So an upgrade that all it really does is AoE damage isn't that great. And like it does damage to the boss, right? It'll do some bonus damage to the boss, but not as much as just like other upgrades, right? A 30% attack speed increase is just more damage, like again, because you're including like your boons. Boons don't deal more damage based on like Seething Marauder or anything, so you can't really like increase this damage in any way. It's just it's weird more than anything else. Like, I don't think it's like terrible. I don't think it's like one of the worst ones, but like I just don't really think it does all that much. It's kind of like a win. There's this like concept in video games called like win more, right? Where like you do more of something that you don't really need to. That's how it feels. Like it's just more AoE that you don't really need. All right. So for the rest of the upgrades, we start with Psychic Whirlwind. During your Omega attack, you can use your attacks and specials. This one's like, it's interesting. You can definitely increase your DPS during your Omega attack, but if you're not really using your Omega attack, like there's just no point to take it, right? You're still moving slower. You're still in that like channeled animation of using your Omega attack. So if you dash, it will be turned off or anything like that. But like you can definitely get some bonus damage in, right? If you're on top of an enemy and you're using your Omega attack already, you can just pump out damage, right? But if you're not using it for, whatever reason, right? You don't want to, you can't really, you don't have any upgrades for it, etc. This one doesn't really help. But if you do have upgrades for your Mega Attack and you just have, other upgrades to go alongside it, it's pretty decent. Melting Shredder. Your specialist hits deal plus 300 damage to armor. So it works on your, your special, so it hits 3 times. And because it hits 3 times, right, you just melt through armor. Plus 300, it's 900 damage, right? You're going to kill enemies super effectively. It applies to your Omega special, so it's really powerful there. Just super useful one. Siege Shredder. Your special strikes further ahead and deals plus 150 to 200% damage. This one's like okay, right? Like I said, it makes it so your special hits further, but it has like a dead zone in between you and the thing. So it's more of a projectile than anything else. So you can't really use it as a get-off-me tool anymore, like the really fast special that you had before. So you do have to be careful there. It's like fine. Honestly, it's really just fine. There's definitely just better ones, in my opinion. Speaking of, Giga Cleaver. Your Omega special fires twice, but it costs plus 15 magic. So think about it this way. If you are using your Omega special twice on its own, that's 60 magic to hit twice. So Giga Cleaver makes it so you're using 45 magic to hit twice. So it's just more efficient. And if you already don't have magic problems anyway, it's just a double damage increase. It's huge. It's great. It does so much damage. Like Giga Cleaver is great. I take this one all the time. Dashing Heave. Your dash strike hits twice in an area around you. The dash strike is just like the regular axe swing anyway, I believe. So it's not like anything special. It doesn't do very much damage. Really, really weak. Don't take the dash strike ones, guys, please. Colossus Slash. Your attacks have plus 15 or 10 to 15 power, and you take minus 20% damage while performing them. So the plus 10 to 15 power on its own is kind of like not that big of a deal, but taking minus 20% damage while performing them is pretty good for your Omega attack. It is also just better for your Omega attack in general, right? The Omega attack hits 11 times, so it's actually plus, 110 damage, right? Wait, 10 times 10. That's 100, right? 110 damage onto your Omega attack, which is like, not nothing to... It's like 660 from 550. It's not like a huge amount, but it's still good. But the minus 20% damage while performing it is, so it'll apply during your... while you're spinning and while you're doing your regular attacks. It's just super, like, powerful that way. That being said, it's only plus 10, right? On something that does, like, a lot of base damage, like your final chop, it's nothing, right? So if you are... There can be better upgrades if you're not valuing that minus 20% damage while performing them. If you're already just dodging everything anyway, then it doesn't really matter. Argent Skull is like... It's something, alright. It's a projectile weapon that has 4 shells, 4 skulls, 4 ammo, 4 bullets, whatever you want to call it, that incentivizes dashing around the room to pick those shells back up. For your primary attack, Melonaway fires a skull projectile that costs 1 ammo. It deals 40 damage, and you reload by picking it back up. You can actually, like, stand on top of an enemy, basically, and then, like, pick them back up instantly if it's, like, a boss or, like, a mini-boss. I believe anything below that it will go through. Don't quote me on that. It will just, like, pass through them. I don't know for sure. But, and you can't pick it back up. But if you are on, like, a boss, you can get crazy amount of DPS by doing that. You have to stand pretty close, so you do have to be careful, right? Standing on top of the boss is usually ill-advised, but because you have so much mobility from the Argent Skull, it's really not that big of a downside. Your Omega attack, Melonaway charges and unleashes a skull. It lands in a large area, dealing 150 damage and costs 10 magic. You reload by picking it up. This does a crazy amount of damage in a crazy large area for only costing 10 magic. This is an insane ability, and, like, percent increases on it are insane. You can it lets you, like, free target it too, so you can clear rooms with it unbelievably efficiently. It's just really powerful, and, like, all of the attacks on this weapon are pretty good, but I definitely think the Omega attack is, like, the best one in my opinion. For your special, Melonaway dashes in the direction of your cursor, your mouse, where you're facing, whatever, dealing 45 damage. This doesn't do that much damage, but it's an additional dash. So you can, like, do your dodge into dash, into dodge, into dash, and dodge that. And you can zip around the room doing crazy stuff. You can become basically untouchable. Nothing will be able to catch up to you because you can move so much. But the dash does not give you invulnerability frames. And it doesn't, like, put you into a sprint like the regular dodge, dash, whatever it does. Usually, the best way to use this is, like, you shoot dash, shoot dash, shoot dash to pick up the skulls, or, you fire all the skulls with the Omega attack, or fire them all with your primary, and then go dash, pick them back up. Or you can just use it. I mean, it's 45 damage is not low. You can definitely just kill certain enemies with it just by dashing right into them, or, like, dash back and back, right? You play Black Panther and Marvel Rivals, you can, like, dash in, dash out, dash in, dash out, and kill a bunch of enemies that way. It's also, like, damage plus burst movement. So if an enemy, if you want to stun an enemy, you can do that, like, very quickly. I think it's, like, as fast as the primary probably could in most scenarios, but, like, yeah. Then for the Omega Spiral, Melonaway charges, then performs a long dash, releasing projectiles while she travels. This costs 20 magic and deals 100 damage per projectile. This is, like, fine. It doesn't do, it does, like, an okay amount of damage if you're hitting these projectiles, but, like, you're not going to be really, because they come out to the sides of you. So usually the best way to use this, in my opinion, is, like, you do a bunch of Omega attacks, right? You place your skulls around, and then you do the Omega dash, you dash across the stage, and pick them all back up. And it's, like, fine like that. Honestly, it doesn't do crazy amount of damage, but it's pretty decent if you do use it like that. Now, for the upgrades, I love these animations. I did them myself, if you guys can't tell. Start with Bolstered Array. Gain plus 2 to 3 shells. This on its own is, like, fine, right? The base aspect of the skull, right? at max level, it'll give you bonus power for how many shells aren't currently, like, you're not holding currently, or just out there that you fired. So, but that one's really good. But there's other, just having more shells is useful, right? You can use your attacks more before picking them up. There's other ones that do, you know, that are good with having more shells, like we'll talk about, you know, soon here. But it's just more damage, right? You can effectively increase your DPS because you have longer before you have to stop shooting. So it's really good for that. And like, I don't know, man. Having more ammo, like, come on. Having 4 ammo is really awkward. The longer you play with this weapon, you guys will realize it's very awkward. So getting those extra shells is just pretty useful. Fetching Array. Your shells fly back to you automatically and are 100 to 200% faster. This is like a nothing burger, right? The speed at which the shells return to you, like if they do return to you without them picking up, like if you like go off screen, is like not slow to begin with. So 100% speed is nothing. And then they fly back to you automatically is like, okay, it's fine, but you can just pick them up. It's not like it's hard to pick them up. It's not like it takes much from you to pick them up. It's not like you're going to put yourself in that much danger to pick them up. And like, just wait if they are in a dangerous position. Fetching Array is like a quality of life upgrade that doesn't do anything on its own, really. Melting Tackle, sorry. Your specials deal plus 600 damage to armor. I've already said enough about how, like, having a good way to deal bonus damage to armor is really strong. So making it be your special, which already, you know, it's a dash. You can dash in, out, in, out, in, out on these enemies. You can just, like, melt through armor, like, really crazily. You just do so much damage to armor with this. It's very good. If you are, like, if you're having a hard time with armored enemies, which you could with this weapon, I'm not saying you wouldn't, but it's not that hard to kill armor enemies just because it does so much damage in the first place, you know, with your Omega attack, with just shooting your freaking 40 damage skulls in like a really fast succession. You can do good damage anyway, that like, it's not the most important one, but it's fine to take. Wide Grin. Your attacks fire all your shells at once in a cone. So, like I said before, if you are standing up against, like, a boss, and you fire your attack and pick up the skull instantly, you can get, you know, increase your DPS. If you have Wide Grin, well, that's a 4 times damage increase if you are doing that, because you're firing 4 skulls, or 6 skulls with Bolstered Array. That alone is not why Wide Grin is good. It's good for that. You can use the, you know, the AoE skulls to, you know, kill more enemies, have more, like, AoE, I guess, for your primary. It's fine. It works on your Omega attack. So, and you can, because you can aim your Omega attack, you can make it so those 4 to 6 hits all happen within a very small area. You can do some absurd damage with with Wide Grin by using your Omega attack, and if you have any bonuses to your Omega attack at all, you're doing crazy damage because you can use all 4 or 6 at the same time. Wide Grin, I think personally, I think this is the best upgrade. I think it's like by far the best, right? Like I was saying with the Umbral Flame, I think that I forgot what it's called. The drag through one, I think is like by far the best upgrade. I think this one's by far the best one. Again, it's just insane. Rapid Driver. Your specials are 45% faster. So you can use them faster. I mean, like, it's already pretty quick. I don't think this one is like that big of a deal. Like, the special, you can already spam it pretty effectively. And like, even if you couldn't, you can special dash like instantly, right? So the special being faster doesn't matter. And it's not like movement speed faster, it's how often you can perform it faster. So it's like not that big of a deal. It's fine, I guess, but it's just not really anything special, I'm gonna be honest. Colossus Driver. Your specials have plus 30-40 power, and you take minus 30-40% damage during them. This is a good damage reduction, right? If it weren't on an ability that you can use to dodge damage to begin with. So it's just, it's really just your specials have plus 30-40 power, and that's like, okay, it's not really that great. The minus 30-40% damage taken is almost cosmetic. It can matter, right? If you like dash into something, you'll take a little bit less damage, but it's basically cosmetic, right? You shouldn't be taking damage if you have a dash to begin with, right? The dash is is getting you away from the damage. Or even if you're dashing through an enemy, you're not taking damage, right? You have to dash into an attack for this to work. It's just not that useful. It's not like it leaves you in place like the Omega attack does for the axe, right? The Omega attack leaves you in place, so having damage reduction during it is basically to make it less dangerous. This doesn't... I mean, like, come on. Like I said. I don't know. Mega Driver. Your specials launch you faster and deal plus 50 to 75% damage. But this is making the specials go faster. I don't think it's that necessary. I have to be honest. Plus 50% damage is like not that big of an increase, all things considered. And I don't know. I think attack upgrades on the skull are typically better than special upgrades again. So because, well, the special doesn't do that much damage. It's more of a utility in a dash. So it's just, I don't know. I don't like taking this one. I don't like taking a lot of these. They just don't feel that good. Twist and Crash, though, this one's like interesting. After your Mega Special projectiles fire out, they fire in. So if you are using the Omega Special for damage, I mean, good for you, I guess. You can double your damage with Twist and Crash. I've tried it. I've tried to make it work. I couldn't. I lost to I don't remember which boss I was fighting. I think it was probably Eris. I lost to Eris doing it, I think, and I never tried it again. Gotta be honest with you. Boosted Ignition. After your dash or specials, sorry, your attacks are faster and have plus 50 and 20 power. This one's like free. Like, it's fine. If you just want a bonus power to your attacks, it's basically all it is. It's just your attacks have bonus power. And like, that's decent. It's really not the worst. What was I gonna say? It's not one of the best ones by any means, but it's fine, right? Another one that's pretty good, Volatile Array. Whenever your shell lands, it deals 50% of your attack damage around them. This is technically a 50% damage increase, but it happens in 2 instances. So you can break through shields and hit the enemy at the same time. Really useful there. Having multiple damage instances in this game is pretty useful. It's not like necessary, you don't need it, but it does help a lot. And it especially helps when there's like a giant wave of enemies. You wipe out the first wave and then they slowly come into the center and then get hit by that second attack. Pretty useful there. It also makes your primary attack have like way more AoE, because the primary attack itself, like, its AoE is fine, don't get me wrong, but it's not everything. It's not huge, especially compared to, your Omega attack. But this does definitely help for that. Possessed Array. Your shells fire your Omega attack when picked up, but cost 25 or 20 magic. This is, like, it's not bad. Of course, it's pretty strong. I can't say it isn't. But it drains your magic. I think that, like, if you take this, like, early and you don't have a good way to use magic, you kind of, like, almost fuck yourself, right? You almost screw yourself over. Because you're using way more than the 10 magic that your Omega attack costs for basically nothing, right? For you're like over double the cost of your Omega attack for not really like for just for an Omega attack, right? So in the early stages when you don't have much magic or like any regen, this is awkward and bad. If you do have like basically infinite magic, which you can get in a lot of runs, this one's crazy. Does insane amount of damage, especially with Wide Grin, because you can pick them all up in a really close area and they all explode. I don't recommend taking it a lot. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's powerful, but I don't recommend taking it. It's like, and a lot of the time you're finding both your Daedalus Hammer upgrades kind of early, so this one's really dangerous because like it can scale like crazy, but it's so bad early. It just like I'm not saying that you can't survive without the Omega attack. I'm not saying you can't survive without all of your Omega abilities by using up all your magic right away. But why would you use up all of your Omega attack magic that you're going to use on your Omega attack to use your Omega attack, but it costs 2.5 times more? You get what I'm saying? Just not very good. But like, it does scale like crazy. I'm not saying it doesn't scale like crazy. Oh my gosh, I need water. And then Looming Ignition. Your attacks gain plus 50 to 75% damage and blast size before exploding after 0.7 seconds. Again, this one's fine. It's a damage increase, and it's basically the same as Volatile Array for the most part. It's just not, it just takes longer, because 0.7 seconds is longer than the shell bouncing and landing, right? That's very quick. So, yeah. It's like fine. Like, I gotta be honest. They can, I believe they can explode in midair, right? I've only used this one once. I haven't gotten it very often. I have to admit. So I believe they explode in midair, which is like kind of interesting, but again, there's just better Daedalus Hammer upgrades to get. I've listed a lot of the ones that I just think are a lot stronger. This one's fine, right? It's not terrible by any means, but I'd say it's like equal to Volatile Array, where they're both just kind of solid, right? Just pretty solid upgrades. And then last, but very, I guess least, we have the Black Coat, or Zinth, I think it's also called. I'm sorry, I would have put an image, up, but the wiki, which has had this weapon on it for over a year, has never put one out, so don't blame me. Black Coat it's a high skill, high reward weapon that rewards weaving in different moves for dealing and blocking damage. The attack, Melanoe punches twice, and it deals 30 and 40 damage for each punch. Yeah, it's a simple 2-hit combo. But you can, during in between the combos, right, you can attack and then, you attack, then special, attack, special, attack, special. You can actually increase your damage by a lot. I'm actually going to talk about the special next, specifically because of this. For the special, Melanoe fires 2 homing rockets that deal 30 damage. And again, you can perform this during your attack combo, right? You attack, special, attack, special. Or special, attack, etc., right? And doing that just increases your DPS by a good amount. Not doing that, you're just literally lowering your damage. That's all it really is. The attack does move you slightly, so be careful about that. And then the homing rockets, right, they fire straight in front of you and then they home. For the Omega attack, Melanoe charges, creating a shield in front of herself, and then release a blast. This costs 30 magic and deals 250 damage. So the shield can block damage. I have no idea how much it can block. I've blocked, like, small hits. I've blocked hits from, like, Polyphemus. I'm not sure how much damage it can block. I don't know if there is an amount. I have not found that in-game. I haven't found that, like, really I haven't found it in-game. That's all I can say. But it's not like a crazy big shield. It doesn't block you from all directions. Just a frontal shield. Using the damage is crazy also. What you do is, punch, charge, right? You can do some pretty good damage that way. I don't like to use the shield very often because I just don't trust it, right? If I'm using the Omega attack, obviously I'm going to use the shield, right? I'm going to try and block it and hit at the same time. I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm not relying on the shield. I don't think you should rely on the shield to save you from damage. I think that it takes like a second for the shield to come out anyway, so you would have to time it for it to be able to do that. It's just not worth it. But using it as a damage ability that has a shield is very good, right? As a damage ability that you're just not going to be hurt while using is worth using because of its charge, versus it has a shield and it's just not. Don't use it for the shield. Like, you know what I mean? Don't use it just for the shield. Use it because it's good damage in a pretty large AoE. It's not crazy large, but it's pretty good. And it's so strong. 250 damage is a lot. This is, I think, the highest base damage of any single attack in the game. I don't think anything does a higher base damage. The Moonstone Axe, it does more overall damage, but that's in 11 hits. This is one big hit. So percent increases on this do crazy amounts of damage. Then you have the Omega Special. Melanoe charges up to 6 rockets that target enemies in a cone in front of her. This costs up to 15 magic, and each rocket deals 30 damage. So the cone targeting, it's a lock-on, right? So if more enemies come into that cone, it will have to lock onto them as well, so you do have to be careful there. It's good. It does a lot of damage. It's 180 damage over, after you charge it up, so it's really strong, and it's not the greatest for AoE, right? You can hit multiple enemies, but for 30 damage. It's not the greatest for AoE. The AoE on Black Coat is not the greatest overall, so you definitely want to make use of the fact that you have range and you have a attack that moves you while you use it to get around the room to kill all your enemies, and fighting bosses, I mean, you pump out a lot of damage with this weapon, just in general. Looking at the upgrades from the Daedalus Hammer are pretty interesting. A lot of them synergize together in really good ways that, like, some of the other weapons don't seem to have. We start with Melting Cross. Your attacks deal plus 250 damage to armor. This, I mean, it being on your attack is already pretty good, right? The attack doesn't do very much damage to begin with. Or if it's on your Omega attack, basically doubles your Omega attack damage. It's solid. Again, if you're struggling with enemies that have armor or... which you can with this weapon. I definitely understand why. It doesn't do that much damage with its basic stuff, right? It only has one ability that does like a big amount of damage. So you can have, you know, a hard amount of time dealing with some enemies. So it's definitely worth taking in some instances. There are so many really good ones though with this, so you do have to be careful. Rapid frame. Your attacks are 45% faster. This one's really powerful. That's a big attack speed increase for the most part, 35%. And while the attack is like not slow, you can just get so much more damage increase out of it, especially when you combine it with Reaper frame. Your attacks have plus 10 to 15 power and deal damage in a larger area. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's a tale as old as time, right? Stacking attack speed, stacking flat damage in a video game. Wow, who could have guessed? It's really powerful. I really like going for, like, you know, rapid frame, Reaper frame. We'll talk about other ones too. For the black coat, just because, like, the attack just feels good to use. I don't know if that's like a weird take, but just feels good to punch and move forward, dealing a lot of damage very quickly, and then firing those, you know, those rockets behind. Just feels really good. Siege frame. Your attacks deal plus 30 to 35% damage and reach further. So, like I've said many times, a percent increase on a low amount, like 30 or 40, isn't that big, and reaching further is nice. I'm not saying it's not. But that's a bigger increase to the 250 damage of the Omega attack. Plus, again, increase the range of the Omega attack. I like taking Siege Frame if I ever have like a reason to use the Omega attack, right? If I've gotten upgrades that make my Omega attack stronger, or boons, or if I'm just like, I don't know, if I'm feeling it. I've had one run recently where I was just like, you know what, I'm only gonna Mega attack, aside from, you know, when I run out of magic. And that felt pretty good. So I had Siege Frame for that run. It felt really powerful. I didn't win, obviously. I mean, I have 60 hours in this game, guys. I've only beaten Kronos like 4 times. I've only beaten Typhon literally last night. Literally the night before Hades 2 came out, I beat Typhon, so I don't know. World Collider. Your fully charged Omega attack has plus 100, 140 power. I don't think this is very good. Like, I don't know. Plus 100 power goes from 250 to 350, right? That's like, I mean, it's not nothing, but like there's other, I mean, like Siege Frame, it's a damage increase and it reaches further, right? And it's not only on your Omega attack. It's also only on the fully charged version, by the way. So if you don't fully charge it and, you know, you're not spending the full 30 magic, which I guess does, you know, not do full damage, it doesn't apply to that either. It's just like weird. I don't like this one very much. Speaking of ones I must not have liked very much, I don't even have a name for this one. Your dash strike hits plus 3 times. The dash strike is not good. It's a little bit of AoE and like a circle around you. I don't know. I've said this before. I don't think that the dash strikes are good in any way. I think, if anything, they kind of get in the way of a lot of the weapons. And this one is a big one. The dash strike on this weapon definitely gets in the way of playing the game. So I definitely recommend not taking that. I mean, it's kind of funny that it's not on there, and I kind of just don't care to change it. So I think that's really funny. And then we look at the last upgrades with, you know, the GOAT Celine over here. Shimmering Rockets. Your special is bounced toward 2 to 3 enemies. As I've said before, with any of the bounce effects, it's just really good for clearing rooms. It's not great against bosses, but clearing rooms is pretty much the weakness of this weapon, I would have to say. So Shimmering Rockets is a great pickup there. Furious Rockets. Your specials are 80% faster. I mean, that's just like nothing, right? You're already able to use them pretty fast, and like, while you can basically spam, you know, the special button at that point, it's like, I think there's just better. I mean, like some of the ones that we'll look at next are just better for if you're trying to go a special build, I find. Because, say, Launcher Frame. When your attacks hit enemies, your special has a 25-35% chance to fire automatically. So you're telling me that I can attack and special at the same time. Yeah, I just feel like this one's better. Like, I understand why Furious Rockets, why you would want to take it, right? It's 80% faster, but the rockets are already very fast. So, I mean, like, At the point of Furious Rockets, it would be you stand there and just spam your rockets, and like that's fine. It doesn't do very much damage, but you can do it. Versus, okay, I'm just gonna do attack, rocket, attack, rocket, attack, special, whatever, and get more damage that way than you would do by spamming specials. It's fine. I can't say it's bad by any means, but I'm just not the biggest fan of it, myself personally. Launcher Frame. Whenever your attacks hit enemies, your special has a 25... I just read that one. What am I talking about? Counter Barrage. After blocking with your Omega Attack Shield, your special auto-fires 5 shots. This one's really interesting. I had it in the run that I was talking about with... where I was trying to go like an Omega Attack only build, and it's very weird. I don't think that it's weak by any means, but if you don't have so much magic that you can use your Omega Attack all the time to the point that like you're just getting blocks naturally, basically, then it just feels like a waste. I don't know how to describe that, right? I don't describe that better. It feels like a waste if you're not using your Omega Attack enough to the point where like you can get blocks just naturally by using it, right? If you have to fish for blocks with your Omega Attack, I don't think it's worth using. I really just don't think it is. The damage decrease by taking this over, like, even Furious Rocket, right? Furious Rocket gives you so much more damage than this because you're able to use your special so much faster. But if you are using a lot of Omega attacks, this is not necessarily a special upgrade as much as an upgrade to your Omega attack. Sudden Salvo. Your Omega special locks on faster and uses minus 20 to 30% magic. It costs like 15 magic. This just is like from 15 to 10, I think. not a big increase. And it locking on faster, again, it's like a placebo thing. It really doesn't matter because, I mean, you're already sitting still to lock on. So you're probably going to want to move from that position right after. So it being faster doesn't change much aside from, okay, I can move a little bit faster more than anything else. The idea is that you can lock on faster to use the Omega special faster to fire faster and deal more damage. I get that idea, but that's just not how it works out in practice when you're using like that's just not how these like they do things faster really work out in practice, because you're not standing still long enough to be able to hit these abilities multiple times over and over and over again to where that increase matters. I don't know how to describe that better. It's not like a... And it's not like you have the range of, say, the Moonstone Axe one, where I talked about where your Moonstone Axe will, like, channel 25% faster on its Omega Special, right? The Moonstone Axe has crazy range and does crazy damage, so increasing that by 25% is a big increase. This doesn't do very much damage, and it doesn't have very much range, so increasing it by, like, 20%, or however much the lock-on speed is, doesn't actually tell me. That's just what the text is. There's no lock-on speed, like, percent increase. It's just not worth it. Especially, again, they're just better upgrades. Ripper Rockets. Your specials briefly gain plus 5-8 power for each consecutive hit against the same enemy, max of 5. This one's really powerful, though. Your rocket goes from, well, 30 damage to 30, 35, 30, or 40, 45, etc., all the way up to, I believe, 55 damage, right? 5, max of 5, 25 damage increase. So it's almost doubling the damage of your rocket if you're hitting the same enemy more than once. Really good with Launcher Frame. It's pretty good with Furious Rockets. I mean, it's like okay with Counter Barrage. I can't say it's good, but it's just like solid. I take this one pretty often if I do have Furious Rockets, right? Because I mean, Furious Rockets not bad. I kind of like said it was like not as good as it was. I think it's really strong. I just think that there's better ones. I don't know. It's like fine. Is what I'm trying to get at. With like Furious Rocket, Ripper Rocket, you can like spam super fast, and because, you know, attack speed plus flat damage, I always say this, is really powerful, you get so much damage out of this ability and just melt enemies, do crazy damage. That was long. Alright, so that's gonna be it for me. If you enjoyed this video, tell me down below. I had a lot of fun making it. I love playing Hades. Like I said, I have 60 hours in the game at the time of making this video. I don't know, it's really fun. And the main reason that this video does not feature aspects is I didn't want to spoil what they really were for people, right? I talked about a couple of them because, well, it was topical, but I'll make another video on aspects later. I just wanted to get this one out. Hades 2 releases today, and if you are watching this video today, I'm going to be streaming at approximately 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time after this video goes up, of course. And yeah, I will catch you guys there. Of course, gonna be playing Hades. I'll see you guys. Have a good one. Peace out. My socials right there. Like, subscribe. You know the drill.